Hello from my freaking kitchen. I had a crazy week. My kid was sick, so I absolutely meant to get this quarter one review up for you sooner. But this is just a great example of you can always pick up balls that you have to drop. I talk a lot with photographers and videographers and business owners in general about business being a great game of trade-offs, but I think we think every decision or every action is so permanent that people sometimes get scared to pick things back up if it's not their perfect timing. So I just want this episode even to be an example of how that does not have to be true. But let's talk these quarterly reviews because I'm literally so nosy. I'm fucking obsessed when other business owners basically just reveal what they did for the quarter and where they're going and being really, really real about it. I really admire it. One creator who does this is one of my business mentors, Jasmine Starr, and I'm literally a hoe for those episodes. So if I love it, I obviously have to make it. So what you can expect is I'm just going to go over everything I did in quarter one, and we might not even know what the results of all of these actions are going to be. It'll be fun in quarter four to be like, oh, I mentioned that in quarter one and it turned into something I had no idea, something I didn't even imagine. So these obviously aren't the most polished episodes. I'm literally yapping to you on a Friday after cuddling a sick kid all week, and that's how I like to show up for you anyway, as I slurp a fat sip of LaCroix.
Hybrid Hangout is literally what it sounds like. This is a place to hang out and talk about what it takes to build a photography business, especially if you're even a little bit curious about adding video. I'm Shay, and I'm so stoked that you've come to hang out with me and talk about the stuff I'm already thinking through after a week of running my photo video business. Here you're going to find conversations about why photographers are booked up and yet still so stressed about money, why being photo only has a financial ceiling, and why adding video is one of the simplest ways to raise your average booking without blowing up your workload. I shoot photo and video at weddings, sometimes solo, sometimes with a team, and I sell high packages because I'm selling photos and simple story-driven video with the equipment I'm already using. Hybrid Hangout is where I talk about how I do that, how I shoot hybrid photo video in a way that doesn't make the day harder, how I edit both mediums quickly without it taking over my life, how I package and price photo and video so it sells without feeling weird, how I market so things compound instead of resetting every month. There will be strategy. There will be rants. There will be very specific systems. There will be side quests about business, money, confidence, burnout, gear, clients, boundaries, and whatever else I'm deep into at the time. This podcast is about building a smarter photography business, one that includes motion and paying you better. If you like photography, you like money, and you like learning in a way that feels more like hanging out than being taught at, you will probably love Hybrid Hangout. So come on, let's hang out.
Basically, going into the new year, I was really, really excited to define where it was I was going. So everything is from the perspective of where am I going and what's it going to take to get there. I know a lot of people are into vision boarding in a weird manifesting way, which I'm all for it. I resonate with manifestation. I totally get it. But at its core, it's really just being very, very focused on where it is that you are going so that you can then take the correct actions to getting there, which doesn't sound like magic at all. That just sounds like inevitable. At the top of the year, when I was picking my words, I was deeply, deeply affected by this writing retreat, workshop, creativity workshop I went to last spring with Elizabeth Gilbert, one of my favorite writers. And I know I talk about it all the time, but that was the experience that I sought out for myself last year. that I went into the experience being very open to being affected. So I was learning with intention. So I chose to be affected by this experience, is what I'm saying. So everything I was going into this new year with was very much based off of that experience. And so you'll hear this in a couple pages of my journal. I'm just going over my journal really quick. But the words I chose at the top were consistency and knowing. So for consistency, that's very based off of a lot of the business education, but also a lot of the creativity content that I consume, that success is on the other side of consistency. And then the other word being knowing, I put trust that what you need isn't more knowledge, it is persistence and consistency. It's also trusting that I know everything that I need to know to get what I want. And so the thought there on the next section here is start knowing how much you know. And I wanted to point this out because I'm not what you would call religious, but I deeply resonated with this section of what Elizabeth Gilbert was saying at the workshop, which was, why would God create a world where what I need is outside of me? My whole life would be a chase if that were true. God dwells within you as you. And even when I replace God with intuition or with inspiration or with magic or with whatever it is, it's like, hell yeah, like what I need is within me. And that's a very encouraging, beautiful thought of autonomy, of having control over my own actions and having control over the way my life goes. Which I feel like this message is really at odds with how a lot of people define God, because for most people that I've talked to, God is a force that's outside of yourself and you can't trust your own intuition. That's what really turns me off. But I'm fine. Like, words are just words, right? Like, we make meaning out of words and our interpretations of them, and that really, really struck me. She also made us do an exercise where we picked an age, like any age that was like in our subconscious at that time, or any age that came up, we had to write that age down. And we had to go through all these exercises of asking ourselves at that age different questions. And I'm not going to share the age that I picked because it's like comically soon. But if you ever want to do this exercise, it was really, really beautiful for me. And I carried over my notes from that into the top of my journal for this year. So how did we get through the hardest thing that we got through? And then you let yourself at that age answer you. What do you need me to do so that I can become you? And you let yourself at that age that you picked answer. What don't I know about myself yet? And you let yourself at the age that you picked answer. And this has been really beautiful for me over the last year because I turned 30. I got the like freaky 30s for a little bit, and now I'm like literally fine. The 30's been great, feeling hot. But just being able to look up to my future self and ask her questions, you can literally do that at any point, and I think that's really, really beautiful. As far as like horoscopy shit, back in December when I was like looking into what's in store for me this year, your little bitch ass Cancer, Sagittarius rising. The thing that I found, well, first I said like this year everything needs to be in service of me at that age that I picked. I need to honor her, I need to listen to her, I need to become her. And then when I tied in like what everything astrology wise was telling me about this year, I wrote this one down. This is what really jumped out to me. A new version of a former dream is going to stimulate your mind. And I was like, oh, this is Hybrid Hangout. It's like so obviously Hybrid Hangout. Like we just keep having reincarnations of this education business, and my message stays really similar, but it takes on different forms, and I figure out year after year how to help people even better. And it is stimulating my mind for sure. But also my novel, like it has to be a new version of this dream because I'm not the same person that I was at 6 years old when I decided my life's goal was to be an author. I'm not the same person I was in college studying who started this fuck-ass book. I've also like consumed enough Montana-based medium to like understand that I I know more about building Montana on a storytelling, like world building, a point of view than a lot of the people making this Montana media. And so there's always like through lines with whatever I'm creating of like tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. Like one like thread in that workshop was like the truth rises to the top no matter what. The good stuff is in the truth. And so I'm trying to take that in my education business and with my creativity and writing my book in stride. I've always taken that point of view with creating videos in my photo video business of like the like truth in those videos like really attracts me to my style, and like really repels me from a more cinematic curated video. And so just again and again and again, that's just a through line, like the truth rises to the top, tell the truth. Then as far as categories go, for health, I asked myself at that age, like, what would you do to get where you got? And then I have like little notes that I stole from like a Pinterest planning session of the secret to your future is hidden in your daily routine. So just this through line of knowing where I'm going and what are the routines and practices and things that are going to get me there. And then going back to knowing, it's what do I know at this age that I defined? And there's this practice that in that workshop that Elizabeth Gilbert had us do that was look at everything you wrote during the few days at the workshop and all of your notes from all the seminars and underline the things that really jump out at you from the page. And then she had us rewrite all of the things that we underlined on a separate page and then to further edit it to create a poem. And I want to share that poem with you now. You you guys that aren't into this shit have probably already clicked off. So hello, real friends. But here's what I took away at the very end. Enchantment doesn't mention sitting under fluorescent lights scrolling social media. When you live off of your enchantment list, you need less help, you need less validation, and you need less. You cannot do interesting things only if you can control the outcome. Ambition is a fear impulse saying what you've accomplished is not good enough. Being a good steward of your body and life is your responsibility. What rises to the top in the end is truth, and truth always feels like freedom. You cannot miss out on your destiny. There is nowhere you can hide from yourself and from God. But, you know, we already dove into how complicated that word can be for me. So then for the creativity category, I also took a note from that workshop. That's why I had to like season you with how much that affected me at the beginning, because the whole beginning part of my journal is pretty much based off of my notes from that experience. But for the creativity category, I vision boarded about where I'm going with my writing, with my creativity this year. And the top line is get up early and take your solitude. Because if there's things that I want beyond my family and beyond my lifestyle and beyond my businesses, there's only so many hours in the day. And so in order for me to achieve those things, if I really, really want them, I have to get up an hour earlier and take what I want. And that will come up later. But I did define like a really batshit goal for myself as far as writing goes, to fast draft like a bunch of stories, not just one story this year. Because we've all heard the study or like at this point it's like a proverb because everyone misquotes what the actual thing probably was. But the one I've heard it again and again that relates to photography is like a photography instructor told half of his students that their assignment for the semester was to create one like beautiful, perfect, gorgeous photo. And the other half of the class had to produce like 100 photos or something like that. And the students who went for quantity and weren't like quantifying things by being good or bad ended up producing objectively better work, like at least one great photo. And the students who were expected to produce just one great photo couldn't do it. Like it was ass and they didn't progress throughout the year. So next I put, because we're transitioning into money and business, I put the more audacity you have, the more life rewards you. And so for money in 2026, I put success as a decision. So I defined some pretty intense goals. And It feels inevitable. I don't know. I don't really I don't really stress money that much, but when we talk about how quarter one actually went, I think you'll notice that like I don't care about money to the point where when I hit a number that is enough, like when I know I'll pay us all year, I let off the gas pretty intensely, and I want to fix that about myself. In Montana Diaries, my photo video business, my main goal is just to follow the systems that I've defined in Hybrid Hub. In Hybrid Hangout, my goal is to serve my people really, really well. I have pretty obvious financial goals, but I also put confidence without ego, because that's not just how I want to show up, it's how by the end of Hybrid Hub I want to empower my education clients to show up. The secret is there's no secret to business: consistency over intensity, progress over perfection, fundamentals over fads, over and over and over again. And I also wrote charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. For manifesting my house, like that's the last big personal goal I have, is having a house in a really, really dope tourist area that that's going to be my legacy for my kids, is a really cool ass generational family home in a place that is getting harder and harder to afford. So I asked my future self how I accomplished it, and she told me pretty straight up how to do it. And then finally, I have a few pages that I kept blank where I could just take notes of things that I need to refer back to again and again and again. And this is so personal, but I think it'll help because the truth always rises to the top anyway. That's what's valuable. I put, it's time to learn how to start and finish something. I wrote, bored, tired, lonely are all okay. You can survive these things. You can be uncomfortable. I said, let fear speak and it runs out of steam. I wrote, you are entitled to the labor. You are not entitled to the fruit of the labor. I put, no result is owed, but you get to play. I put, every experience is working in my favor. I put, this year will wake you up from a deep sleep. I put, integrity means doing what you say you're going to do. I put, you don't get a dream inside of yourself if you don't have the capacity to fulfill it. I put, my success is on the other side of my consistency. I put, you have to do things that other people will not do in order to get results. So finally, going into my notes for quarter one, I wanted to share all of that context with you about where my head is at for this year, because how I'm structuring my journal is actually fucking life-changing, and when we get into the actionable steps part of the podcast, I'd love for you to try to implement it. But for January, I put, where am I going? I put, for health, I put, this weight by the end of the year, this weight by the end of the quarter. So that means this weight by the end of the month. I hate talking about weight, but I'm going to do it more and I'll tell you why later. But actually I'll tell you now. So the health category, the categories I'm defining every single month have been health, creativity, money, so I can draw little money trackers that I can color in. And then business, I put specific things to photo video, specific things to Hybrid Hub. But for health, I'm defining where I'm going, and then I put the bullet points of the action steps of what it's going to take to get there. But also I just had a conversation literally 2 or 3 days ago, maybe last week. I'm so sorry, time means nothing to me. But I just had a conversation with one of my favorite business owner friends in the Valley. She is absolutely incredible. We have the best conversations every time we talk, but we get down these rabbit holes of goals and what's next and how to take risk in business. Then she looks at me and she's like, I've never told anyone this before, but I want to find more balance so that I can take my health more seriously and go to the gym more. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah. What I actually shared with her was I just saw this piece of content that deeply affected me by I don't even know what I would call this person, a health and nutrition coach, but they were sharing that high achieving women tend, when they struggle with their weight and with prioritizing their health, it's because they find all of their value in how productive they can be. So if your value is how much you make, how much you produce, if the way you make yourself and others proud is how much you can achieve, then it's easy to think that, going on this walk is not more important than 1 more hour at my computer. going to the gym for an hour is not more important than me replying to these emails. I'll do it after I'm done with this editing. I'll do it after I'm done with this, this, and this. And so we tell ourselves through our actions, like we reinforce this idea over and over and over that our health and like how we treat ourselves is not more important than what we can do for other people and what we can make and what we can produce. And it feels like self-esteem when you're in it, because you're like, wow, I'm deeply prioritizing building this thing that I'm so proud of, and look how much money I'm making, and look how well I'm supporting my family, and look how well I'm supporting my community. But at the end of the day, it's showing like really, really low self-esteem because you don't think that you matter. Like, and then she felt really seen in that. Like we both like were tearing up a little talking about this. And I was like, holy shit, like in my real life, I actually have no problem like sharing about like having a lot of extra fat since having kids, and like feeling like my body, like maintaining my body doesn't matter that much since my kids, and like going in these waves of like feeling a certain way about it. But when like this platform, like where I should be the most open to helping people with the things that like are really mattering, like I actually don't talk about it that much. So if you're resonating with this word salad at all, like feel free to DM me at Hybrid Hangout. I'm fine to dive into it more. But I also shared with her, like, it's just interesting, like when I was younger, I felt so much judgment and resentment toward my parents, who are alcoholics and like very, very overweight. And I would look at them and just be like, oh, you don't care about yourself. Like you're letting like all of your problems show on the outside of you. And I was a really, really skinny kid, and then like an athletic teenager, and then going into college, like still pretty athletic. I never like struggled with weight until having kids and like having a really traumatic birth, and then my hormones going crazy with like my adult acne after, and like having all the ab separation and not being able to do what I used to do in the gym. And then like just you get in these cycles of like, oh, like I'm not succeeding in that area, but like I'm really, really, really succeeding with my business. And so that starts to feel like it's the most important thing you could be doing. And maintaining your own health doesn't matter that much. And like there's other things to unpack and go into it. But I think it's so interesting, like how I felt about important adult figures in my life who fell into these patterns, like how much resentment and judgment I had for them. And now it's happened to me, and it's still easy to like push it down and devalue it in the moment, when like that would have been like the end of the fucking world to me when I was younger. And I think it's important to have like real, true, honest conversations about this, because like when you try to like make this conversation too pretty or too PC, it gets so watered down that it's not actually effective and doesn't actually help anybody. And it doesn't like help with intimacy with like your friends or with your loved ones or with other business owners, because when you water down your message, you're lying. So once again, that theme of the truth always comes to the top, comes back in. And so when I think about my health, like I want to come from that place. And yeah, that's why it's a category. That's why I'm going to try to talk about it more. But I left that conversation with this business owner who's my friend, who I just love, with her being like, thank you so much. No one has ever talked to me about this, like so honestly. You're the first person I've ever talked to who seems like they get it. And I had to leave her with this of like, having extra fat doesn't mean you're not gorgeous. And it doesn't mean you have to want to get rid of it. But if you do, like that's a symptom of a deeper like problem. And to change this part of your life, you have to change your entire life. Like that's the other crazy part of it too. And going back to my parents, like I always thought like I didn't have a problem with relying on substances because drugs aren't my thing and alcohol isn't really my thing. Like I don't rely on those things to manage my life. But if I'm relying on like sugar and carbs to manage my life, that still should point to like what are the parts of my life I can change to make that not true. and she really, really resonated with that too. So that is the health category. And then, so in January, I got really excited about my health, as people do in January. And I was crushing it with work too. And it's so annoying, but like I felt amazing. So I defined where I was going, and then I had like what my rules of what I was going to do action-wise in order to get there. Because you've heard me yap about this before, being product-oriented versus process-oriented. But yeah, I felt amazing doing those actions, and that is annoying that this boring stuff works, that you don't want to do works. But also under health, like one of my resolutions, it's not like health, but we're going to put it in this category. But my resolution was to get my acne under control and finally have like a really great skincare routine. And my skin esthetician was like, oh my God, I've never been someone's New Year's resolution before. Then under creativity, I hate that I always let writing my book be the thing that I let go of. If there's like a list of balls to drop, it's like self-abandonment is the first thing for me, where I'm like, oh, my health can drop, but also like me writing my book can drop. Like the business and my family is always first, and I'm determined, even like spoiler alert, those two categories went to shit in Q1, as they always do. And so I'm determined to be a person that continues making this a priority even after I like fail miserably, because we're still too early into the year to give up on things that are so important to me. So yeah, I got up early to write a few times, and I felt so proud and amazing, and then I just let it go. But then business was going really, really great. I welcomed 5 students into Hybrid Hub, so that was amazing in January. And then my photo video business booked enough in January to where I could pay like what I allotted to pay us personally for the whole year. I booked in January. And so my note earlier about letting off the gas whenever my personal goals are met, I'm in that place right now. So like I need to get hungry again with booking in my photo video business. My other note for January though is like my hormones are pretty fucked up, like more than I even thought. Like I got this Aura ring last year. It's so douchey, I know. But I got this last year for my birthday. And it's really changing my perspective. Like I have like a way longer menstrual cycle than I even thought. I used to just think like, oh, I'm kind of irregular, or like, oh, I'm bad at tracking, and like I just forget when my period is. It's always a surprise. But no, like I'm actually pretty consistent, but I'm on like a 42-day cycle with like one of those weeks like feeling like the flu. Like I can't even get out of bed. And a lot of the things that like I thought were just depression, I'm like, oh, it's like really in tune with my cycle. So that's my journey with Aura Ring right now. At the end of January, I threw my husband a birthday party, trying to get better, just like really prioritizing my personal life, even though things were crazy with both businesses. Yeah. And then at the end of January, early February, like with ICE just committing human rights atrocities, I was like finding, like I was getting so much traction with what I was doing on social media, booked like 40,000 worth of work one week where I was experimenting with posting like crazy on Instagram. And then like I just suddenly like so got the ick with social media, and I was finding it really hard to stomach. So like going into February, like my mental health was literally at an all-time low. The only time I really post on my photo and video account was to talk about ICE in Minnesota. And I not only do I stand by that, like I know that was the right thing for me and the right thing to do, but like I do have a lot of clients from Minnesota, like every year actually. Like I consistently just connect with people from Minnesota, and they're my best clients. And so I had a lot of really meaningful chats with those clients, and everything just felt really heavy. It's hard because I'm worried about the world and our country in general. And like, I'm not like naturally like a very hyperbolic person. Like I'm naturally like really, really moderate and try to just read everything I can and be really, really, really informed, and then try to like bring a lot of nuance into how I'm thinking and discussions. But like this was just a period like to make this about me. Like, I'm a really sensitive person and a really, really depressive person, and I'm really affected by media. But yeah, not to be meta, but in this period, like, I'm trying to like regrow Hybrid Hangout with the rebrand and serve Hybrid Hub members really well. And I'm supposed to be helping photographers rely on systems instead of feelings. So how I navigated February with like having that messaging was like I had to be really radically honest about where my mental health was and where I was at mentally was showing up. And like there's things that suck to say sometimes because I'm very much like I need to be in integrity and like show them like how to do the things I'm telling them to do. But sometimes I literally just had to be like, I'm making money right now and like I'm making really good money right now because of searchability, and it's not going to be from social media right now. So while still helping them stay consistent with their marketing because they're still hungry. It's just a weird thing to navigate sometimes. But once again, the truth rises to the top. So I just had to keep telling the truth. And then the other thing with business, I got to be on the Epic Elopement Photography podcast with Cheryl Ann at the end of February. So that was really, really fun. Then we got into March and I slowly crawled out of my February hole. We took the kids to Bozeman for a little trip. I went to my friend's baby shower. We took the kids to a museum. We swam in a hotel pool. It's just crazy feeling in charge of someone's childhood memories. Like we were playing mermaids and I was like, I'm responsible for how they remember being a kid and how they remember getting to go to a hotel pool. Side note, I hate swimming, so that's always funny too. For business, I welcomed, I think, another 5 or 6 new members into Hybrid Hub. Then we had Cheryl Ann come teach TikTok inside of Hybrid Hub. That was cool because I'm seeing my students be really, really visible after that training. And I think just having like fresh blood come in and show them what's possible, because she definitely walks the walk but does it in a really chill way. That was cool. So I'm really, really happy with how that workshop inside Hybrid Hub went, and I want to do more, and I'll try to post them as bonus podcasts too. But yeah, she's great. Then I also flew to Seattle to record the Super 8 training inside of Hybrid Hub. That is with Devin, who used to be the co-host of this podcast. She's absolutely incredible. We busted out this training. It's really, really good. That will be for people to grow their business with Super 8 inside of Hybrid Hub. And I also, in March, hired the new podcast producer for Hybrid Hub. So just going back to my categories, for my health, I didn't end up getting where I wanted to go because I fell off of being in integrity with what I said I was going to do. With creativity, I didn't get where I wanted to go with my writing goals because I fell out of integrity with what I said I was going to do. With money, I reached my financial goals, but my process-oriented goals for the businesses, I would like to get stronger with staying on track with that. But the little reminders I had for myself, like growth mindset wise, this is the best I've ever done with like getting back on track, even when I've fallen off a little bit. Just the reminders of like not solidifying an identity of being a person who isn't good at staying on track with my health. Like I'm not good at it yet. I don't want to solidify an identity of not being good at social media, like staying on track with that. I'm not good at being consistent yet. And that's the mindset I want my students to hold on to. Like, I want a growth-minded mentality for myself and my family. That's a really, really big value in our family. And I want my students to be growth-oriented as well. I'm really working on how to make everyone in the program have just a culture of accountability, of extreme ownership, being open to testing and trying new things with not being beholden to preconceived notions without testing first. And also just being open to failure, like honestly, because at least every day there's a space inside of Hybrid Hub where everyone is highly encouraged to come in community together and take an hour a day to grow the business and to try new things and to keep pushing. And when people use that time to stay safe, like to edit or to like dink around or to answer emails, I'm trying to create a culture where that's just not cool and people like see what they're doing. And I think you can tell the students were like, I've kind of given up on that because they're not growth minded. But the students who show up and they're like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do something to grow the business and I'll edit the rest of the day and I'll do emails the rest of the day. It's really exciting to see the people taking that on. And this journaling system is helping me take on that sort of mindset for every area of my life. Hold the vision, trust the process is what I write over and over and over again. So then we go into quarter 2 and I have all of this data about where I've been and what I'm trying to achieve and what it's going to take to get there and where I'm falling off and where I'm failing. And so now I can look at quarter 2 and summarize what happened this last quarter, not judge myself for it. And I was joking in Hybrid Hub the other day. I was like, oh, I love to change quarters because it's like you get 4 new years every single year. Like you can bring that new year energy into quarter 2. And I kept like this mindset that whole last week of March. And then I had people coming in that first week of April being like, I feel great. It's new year, like new year, new me. And I just love that my crazy ass is rubbing off on them. Now this is really meta. I'll talk about quarter 2 after I do co-working in Hybrid Hub because we run out of time. So if the lighting changes in the next part of the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, that is why. See ya after co-working. Okay, I love how meta that was, breaking for an hour to host co-working inside Hybrid Hub. We do what we can with the time we have, you know? I'm also just so inspired by the members of Hybrid Hub. It's like the most beautiful, gorgeous, empathetic, smartest, most helpful and funny photographers and videographers in there. Like today, what we do in co-working is I just do like a state check with everybody and be like, what are you doing to grow your business? Just so like I can hear their end goal so that in these co-working sessions, I can kind of stay on them and be like, okay, what are you doing in this 15 minutes to get you toward that goal? And I think it really helps people to focus on the daily, to stay focused in general, but also to take bite-sized pieces out of these actions, out of these steps toward the overarching thing that we're trying to do. But like we yap in between and then we yap at the end, and sometimes like just the most beautiful things come out of it. Like today, everyone got really deep into talking about getting outside more and like what to do about burnout and all of these things, and everyone had really beautiful perspectives about it. And I'm so proud to be surrounded by smart women. That's all I want out of my life. But back into this podcast, I think quarter 1 we did it, like it's done. I'm always most satisfied when I'm in integrity with what I say I'm going to do. And I didn't reach my goals in the health and creativity categories. So we already talked about self-abandonment and how shitty that feels. And now like this is going to be posted, on April 13th, something like that. And I'm basically treating that as the start of quarter 2 because I had a sick kid and just a lot of disruptions. And it's hard to change your life if you don't have consistency in your day and you're not setting yourself up for success. So I'm going to figure out how to do that, and I'm not giving up. That's why I love treating every quarter like a new year. So when I think about this quarter, it's a lot of travel. Like we're going into busy season. This is actually kind of funny. Literally first week of April, I bought a few courses. I bought like a YouTube course, a TikTok course, and then something about Google ads. And you'll remember that I said like one of my mantras for the year is knowing. So like trust that you already know enough to achieve what you want to achieve. And one of my hybrid members actually called me out on this when I shared that I bought more education. And she was like, hey, your New Year's resolution was to not buy any more education. And that's like a meme in the community because you're like, okay, Shay, like you don't want to learn anymore, you dummy. When like I just want to trust my knowing and implement like crazy this year. So I kind of loved that she called me out on that. And I was listening to an Alex Hormozy video. You know, I love a business douche. And he was saying, if you watch educational content without implementing, then that isn't learning, that is entertainment. And that hit me so hard. And so I am trying to implement everything that I said I would. And so I'm consuming this education with the intention of carrying out what I'm learning. And that's going to be a big theme of the next 3 months. Also, in every category, in health and creativity and money in both businesses, a lot of personal life goes under the health category too, because it's mental health. But I know where I'm going. Like, I've defined where I'm going this quarter, and there's some setbacks with me not getting where I wanted to go last quarter, but you just adjust. You don't give up. So even though I'm starting on Monday, April 13th, when I would have liked to have implemented a lot of these things by April 1st, one thing I hope you take from this is a lot of creatives, I know a lot of photographers and videographers love to make a perfect plan and then not implement it. We love to make a time block. We love to make a system. We have this idealized version of ourselves when we make plans. So I hope this is your encouragement. Whatever you're wanting to accomplish, like, start today, start now, define it literally today. And don't wait for a Monday. You don't need to wait for next month to start fresh. You don't need to wait for next quarter to make your perfect quarterly plan. Like, literally just start today and see your persistence and consistency compound into results much faster than if you're just going to wait for the perfect time to start. One thing I want to say at the top of this quarter is I'm going to be vlogging the actions that I'm taking in every single category. And the reason for that is I really want to, first, it's what I've been saying about truth. Like, truth rises to the top, and I want to be real about where I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve and how I'm taking the actions to fix it and share that journey with you. One creator I love, I just heard Omar El-Takori say on his podcast about documenting the journey that people hate to show the struggle or the cringe parts of what they're trying to do. People hate to show that they're trying. But, like, if you believe that you're going to succeed, if you think you're going to be successful, then all of the, like, cringe and the weird, messy middle bits, like, that's part of your story. I get that it might be embarrassing to share the journey and share your shortcomings and to show up ugly, as I like to say. But I have enough self-belief that sharing all of this with you guys is going to help you, and it's also going to be a really, really beautiful story. So it doesn't feel like an overnight success thing. I mean, at this point, you all know I rent like an ugly cabin in the woods, and the trade-off there is that my kids get lake access and we get to live in the most beautiful place on earth. Like, I'm not out here posturing or trying to look more successful than I am. Like, I have a very, very successful business, and like a lot of that money I make, I leverage to start new businesses and try new offers and to test a lot of things. And I pay my family modestly so that we can work on our savings goals and our personal goals slower than if I would pay us more. And so with documenting this journey and taking risks and testing a lot of things, like, I have enough self-belief in the discipline and consistency I've had with being frugal in some ways and a big risk taker in others that just show it's all going to end up being worth it. And I don't want it to feel like I moved in silence and then I came out of nowhere. I want you all to see the struggle and the parts that aren't perfect and the periods where I'm not in integrity with what I say I'm going to do, so that you can see when I am taking consistent action and when I am in integrity with what I say I'm going to do, it yields beautiful results. And just to give myself more credit too, I basically started a whole new business this year. I continued it on my own. I've been serving my clients. I travel the world. I give my family such beautiful experiences. Like, my husband and I live exactly how we want to. Like, life is really, really beautiful. I do a lot. I just want more, and I want to document that and not shy away from it. Truth always rises to the top. That's kind of the theme of today. So I'll be vlogging in every category. We're going to do another recap at the end of quarter two where you'll hear how all of these actions went as well. And more than anything, I just keep telling myself, tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. Okay, let's play the dumb theme song for the education portion of the podcast, because I paid for them. We got to play them. We love fun. We love whimsy.
Okay, this is the part of the show where we stop yapping, and actually learn something. Yapping and actually learn something. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so going into the education part of this batshit podcast, after everything I just walked through with quarter one, how I set goals and how I realign with them every month and every day, and what I'm doing for quarter two, this is the part where I want you to take all of this and like use it in your own life and business somehow. Take out a piece of paper and literally write down where you are going. Pick your categories. They can be health, personal life, money, relationships, business, creativity, whatever your categories are. And then define where you're going in each one. And it should be one thing. Like if it's health, like what is the one thing you want to have seen that would be a benchmark to success by the end of the quarter? If it's your business, what is maybe a revenue goal, like maybe booking client goal, maybe social media marketing goals? Just define what the one thing is that would make this quarter feel like a success. Then under each of those categories, once you've defined where you're going, you have to make some bullets to say what are the action items, the process-oriented things that you can do consistently in order to get there. And I want to be really, really fucking clear. You can and should do this today. Like literally right now. Don't wait for a Monday, no matter when you're listening to this. Don't wait for a new month. Don't skip this until the next quarter because you feel like it should be like a perfect start date, right? You have to erase the perfect start time mindset. Just decide where you're going, define the actions it will take to get there, and start. On the daily level, my personal practice is to review these items every single day. You have to remind yourself where you're going so you can take the consistent actions it will take to get there. And if you're making yourself like a daily to-do list, that will inform the best things that you should do every day. Because that is one thing I hear all the time from photographers is they're like, there's so many things to do and I know what I should be doing, but I don't know what's most important. I want to prioritize. If you knew where you were going, that would not be a problem. If you define the one thing that would make the quarter feel successful in each category, you'd be very, very, very clear on what you have to prioritize on the daily level, and I stand by that. All right, you guys, that was kind of an intense episode. I'm such a hoe for quarterly reviews, though. If you loved this, review, tell me. I don't care. DM me at Hybrid Hangout. I'd love if you would share this podcast to your stories. And I'd also love if you would join me in Hybrid Hub because it is the best, most gorgeous community of hybrid photographer, videographers on the planet. You can join if you want to add video. You can join if you've already added video. I will meet you where you are at, and we're going to scale your photo video business this year. I can't believe I turned this whack-ass episode into a pitch at the end. You know me, though. We've got some quarterly revenue goals, baby. I can't wait to hear from you, and send me a voice message at Hybrid Hangout too. I'd love to play it on the podcast. It can be anything, like gossip, your hot takes, questions you want answered on the podcast. Send me a voice message and tell me it's for the podcast. Okay, I love the shit out of you. I love you so much. You have complete control over your actions and complete autonomy over how your life goes, and I hope you believe that. Okay, that was a heavy way to end the podcast, Shayna. Okay, bye!
Beautiful, gorgeous, perfect raccoon with a camera.